Well, today we're gonna continue talking about the sphenoid, another one of the bone of the skull base. So we start to saying the sphenoid is a symmetrical bone located in the middle portion of the base of the skull. Have the shape of the wedge. It's like a butterfly. It can be like a butterfly or a wedge shape. It's located between the ethmoid bone, the frontal bone. Those two bones are anterior, okay? Anterior to the sphenoid, we have ethmoid bone and the frontal bone. The occipital bone and the temporal bone, which they are occipital, we're gonna find here posteriorly, and the temporal bone we're gonna find posterolateral, okay? So in the description of the sphenoid, we're gonna distinguish a middle part, the body. It have a cubic shape. This is a cubic. Okay. From this cubic part, we're gonna find the part of side of this cubic part, three processes, okay? Three kind of different processes. Of these three processes, two of them are superolateral and triangular. Those processes are the wings, lesser wings here, and the major wing. And another one here, as you can see, this process is going inferiorly, okay, and have the semilunar shape. And this process, and it's called pterygoid process. So first we're going to start talking about the body of the sphenoid, the cubic part of the sphenoid. So in the body of the sphenoid, we want to distinguish 6 surfaces, okay? Superior, inferior, anterior, posterior, and laterals, and 2 laterals. We're going to start with the superior surface. So this superior surface is intracranial, and we're going to find it here, okay? Gonna find it here, okay, also. Okay. So from the anterior to posterior, we can observe in the anterior portion of this surface, we're gonna find a quadrilateral and smooth area. It's called jugum sphenoidalis. Okay. So this jugum sphenoidalis is slightly depressed. We're gonna find some depression here in this jugum sphenoidalis on either side of the middle line. It's forming some canals, these olfactory canals, that is the posterior continuation of the corresponding olfactory canals of the ethmoid bone, okay? Ethmoid bone here, we have the canal from the olfactory nerve, and also we're gonna find in the jugum sphenoidalis also some groove. Okay, so also you can see we can also call the jugum sphenoidalis like planum sphenoidalis or sphenoidal jug. Okay, we can find these 3 names, so we need to try to don't misunderstand these names. So if we go more posteriorly, we're gonna find the jugum sphenoidalis is bounded posteriorly by the transverse ridge. It's called limbus sphenoidalis. Subsequent to the limbus sphenoidalis, we're gonna find the prechiasmatic groove or optical channels, which is a range of transverse portion, and it's continuing on each side with the optic foramen. We're gonna find here, say. So you can see the prechiasmatic groove is later bonded by the transverse ridge. It's called the tuberosuli. I'm gonna find there. So we can find these elements here. Jugum sphenoidalis, limbus sphenoidalis. Gonna find the prechiasmatic groove, and remember, go with the prechiasmatic groove, going through the channels, going laterally to the optic canals. We can find usually here a plexus, okay, the prechiasmatic plexus, or also they are called like the coronary plexus or intercavernous plexus. We're gonna find here, they go to the cavernous sinus side by side. I can put it in blue because there are this is yes, Venus. So the tuberculous line, this anteriorly limits the pituitary fossa, remember, which also called it pituitary fossa or fossa hypophysaria or pituitary fossa, sella turcica by the shape, sella turcica by the shape also. So you can see here the sella turcica or hypophysaria fossa. Its limit in 4 angles by 4 eminences. Call it clinoid process or apophysis clinoid, anterior here and posterior here. Sometimes there is like a middle clinoid process, okay, here. Sometimes I'm gonna put in blue. Sometimes, but usually we have anterior and posterior clinoid process, and these are the lateral limits, the lateral limits of the sella turcica. And sometimes I put it in white. We're gonna find another process. It's the middle clinoid process. Also, this anterior and posterior clinoid, sometimes they are joined together by ossification, okay? So something interesting is sometimes, I'm gonna put in yellow. Sometimes this clinoid, between the anterior clinoid and posterior clinoid, sometimes these two clinoid, this is anterior clinoid and this is posterior clinoid. Sometimes these two clinoid, they are joined together. We have the ossification here, and they create a channel, and by this channel go the carotid artery, the internal carotid artery, and the name of this channel, of this canal, is carotidoclinoid, okay. Now the channel, the clinoid, anterior clinoid here, posterior clinoid here, the ossification, and the carotid there, okay, and the carotid. So the posterior surface of the pituitary fossa is formed by the dorsoscellae here, this is dorsoscellae. So on the posterior part of the dorsoscellae is a flat surface, inclinoid, is having inclination inferior and posteriorly, which is continuity with the clivus of the occipital bone. Okay, here is continued here with the clivus, dorsoscellae, and here we have the continuation of the clinoid of the clivus. So now we go with the inferior surface. Okay, so this surface present in the middle line, this one you see, number 1, in the middle line, the sphenoid crest, which is housed in the bomber channel. It's in the anterior surface, called the peak of the sphenoid, or peak of the sphenoid rostrum, because it's like, if we see here, this is anterior, okay, this is the body, let's see laterally, and you're gonna find this peak inferiorly here, you see. So you see the crest, the middle line here, and finish anteriorly here, like this is this peak or sphenoid rostrum, okay. So this part is you can see it here also. Let's see if I have another picture. So this part is very protruding and continuous with the sphenoid crest. At each side of the ridge we're gonna find a little groove or excavation. We'll find this groove laterally, in which the base of the bomber is housed. Okay, remember the bombers go inferior here like a transformer. This is the bomber. Okay, this is a line of the bomber, and the bomber go here. Okay. So the lower sphenoid ridge is articulate with the channels between the wings of the bomber. You see the wings of the bomber here. I'm gonna put in blue. You see the wings of the bomber. So the adaptation of these two surfaces is not totally complete, okay, and form the sphenoid-bomberian ducts. So on each side of the middle crest, you see the middle crest here, middle crest. So we want to find a smooth surface, triangular. Okay. Sometimes it's formed this turbinate, sphenoid turbinate. We cannot see it here, but sometimes we're gonna find in blue. Okay. The sphenoid turbinate. So on each side of the middle crest, okay, we already know we have the turbinate. On which side we have the turbinate here. We're gonna find the triangular surface bounded laterally and posteriorly by the protrusion of the root of the middle plate of the pterygoid process. Okay, here. So this is the vaginal process between the turbinate, the sphenoid, and the middle plate of the pterygoid process. We have the vaginal process of the sphenoid. We cannot see it here in this picture. So we go now with the anterior surface. We can find it here. The anterior surface is related with the posterior surface of the sphenoid, again as a transformer. Okay, and it's also part of the roof of the nasal cavity. It's located in the midline, above to the anterior border of the thin horizontal plate. Okay, with the ethmoid process. So this part of the bone is articulated with the sphenoid bone. The sphenoid bone is anteriorly. You can find here this anterior crest of the sphenoid. This number 1, anterior crest of the sphenoid. You're gonna find also some cells, and these cells, as a transformer, will articulate with the posterior ethmoidal cells of the ethmoid. And we're gonna find here anterior the sphenoid sinus opening. We're gonna talk about the sinus later. Sometimes we can find only 1 or 2. Okay. So the posterior surface is, you can see it here. This very body part is oblique and it's a quadrilateral surface. Okay. This part is very attached to the occipital bone. Okay. Usually in the adults, these two parts of the bones to the posterior surface of the body of the sphenoid and the clivus, they are attached. Okay, in the adults. So in the end, we have the lateral surface. Let's take a good picture. So from the lateral surface of the body of the sphenoid bone, superior and anteriorly, the lesser wing of the sphenoid or alae parvae, and also this serves as the place of the birth of the implantation in the more inferior part, in posterior direction of the major wing or alae magnae of the sphenoid. The space between the the inferior root of the lesser wing and the anterior border of the major wing correspond to the medial end of the superior orbital fissure. So, you see? Inferior root here of the lesser wing and the anterior border here of the major wing, superior orbital fissure. Okay, remember we're talking now of the lateral body. So here is the groove in which the common tendon ring of the muscles of the eyes, the extraocular muscle, to be precise, is inserted. This is called the tendon ring groove. Okay. So sometimes we're gonna find superposterior to the root of the major wing of the sphenoid sulcus. This is the S-shaped sulcus. Is made by the carotid. Okay, and we can call it the sulcus caroticus or cavernous canals. So with that, we finish with the body. Okay, so here we can see a view, superior view. Again, we remember the anterior clinic process. The optic canal is going there. Planus fluidalis, pituitary fossa ocella turcica. Okay, tuberous eye here. Okay, remember this is the intercavernous optic groove here. So now we are seeing a zoom view. You see here the optic canal. Okay, the sphenoid sinus here. It's being cut. We see here the lesser wing, the sphenoid. This is the optic struck here, or posterior root of the lesser wing canal. Okay, and here remember we have the superior orbital fissure. This means this is the anterior border of the ala magna or major wing of the sphenoid. We're gonna talk about the foramens later. Okay, so optic canal here again, anterior clinoid process, dorsal ocelli here, pituitary fossa, the tuberculous ocelli. You can see here this name tuberculous, the chiasmatic sulcus here. Now we are seeing from the orbit. We are watching the view from the orbit. Again, the optic struck posterior root of the lesser wing. You can see it here. The body of the sphenoid bone. You can see here optic canal. You remember when we spoke about the ethmoid bone, and we say we have the channels and the anterior and posterior ethmoid channels. Okay, so we see here. Remember anterior and posterior ethmoid channels. Remember there are channels, one from the ethmoid bone and the other one from the frontal bone, and when they are together they become ducts. Okay, this is the branch, the artery of the ophthalmic artery goes there. So lesser wing of the sphenoid here, remember lesser wing, major wing or greater wing of the sphenoid, annular tendon attached here from the muscles of the extraocular muscles. Again here you see this is the optic canal here. Okay, the ophthalmic foramen. Remember this foramen is from the ophthalmic artery. The optic nerve is going from here, and always we want to find in the beginning of the trajectory the ophthalmic artery going inferior to the nerve, to the optic nerve. Okay, in the beginning of the trajectory. Okay.